First Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chris Johnson. Palpable Paradox.
Hello?
Kirk.
Polarity.
Hey, man.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Horizontal view, is that best?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Did you just get home or?
I went to my mom's. I'm at my mom's now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm spending a few days out here. And for the past 4 months, I've always been very, trying to maintain my distance from her
Mm-hmm.
due to current events,
Mm-hmm.
current situations. And this week marks our first week back to the Tonight Show in 4 months. Like, we've been doing it like remotely, but this is our first week back at 30 Rock proper to do. It's not our full-blown studio with an audience, but it's a step up from the production that step up from the type of production that we've been doing.
Right.
And part of that process is very strict supervision and monitoring of our health and our possibility of carrying anything that could be detrimental to other humans. So that involves testing. There's regular testing in order for us to be admitted into the building. So as a result of that regular testing, that allows me more comfort in being closer to my mom. So I'm really psyched about being out here with some guards let down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, she lives in the home I grew up in. And so this place for me is very special. It has a lot of memories, and it has a lot of gear that I hold dear that I visit out here. And I had to, I wanted to make the adjustment to push it back a little, because the longer that I wait, if we were to do the interview and then I came out, then I would have been stuck in even more traffic than I already did get.
Yeah, no worries.
So thank you for being accommodating.
Anything for you, man. You're one of my favorite people. I would do whatever I can for you.
Right back at you. You hold a very special place in my heart too, bro.
Oh, man. Well, so
is everything cool with the lighting and all this? It's not a very sunny day.
it's okay.
So.
You're fine. Whatever you're comfortable, hanging out and chatting with me, whatever position, whatever, if you want to set the phone down or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just going to make it even more comfortable by opening a window. It's yeah,
whatever's best for you, man.
Yeah, thank you. So how long you been doing this?
I started this early last year, actually the end of 2018, I guess, is when I first started recording, and it was just audio only. And it was just kind of an experiment. My good friend Moon Zappa had visited, we went to go visit Tool one afternoon in the studio when they were completing this last record, and she's old friends with them. And in the process of us hanging out a little bit, she was like, and then we left, and she's like, you should just talk to all your friends about music stuff and like just see what happens. See if you like doing it. You probably have like a little show or something. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh man, I don't really want to do it. Everybody's got a podcast, and I was kind of like, just kind of feeling kind of weird about it at first, but then the more I thought about it, I was like,
saying everybody has a podcast, that's like saying, everybody has conversations. We shouldn't do it.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Thank you for validating my situation.
That's part of what this is for.
Yeah. But yeah, it's only been for the YouTube and the video part. It's only been since February. I finally kind of felt like, oh, you know what? I'll just jump in, and that's been kind of the thing. Is like, you know how it is. You get excited about something, and it's like, okay, do I wait till I have all my ducks in a row to do the thing, or do I just start doing the thing and the ducks will eventually line up? You know,
Yeah.
I'm usually the latter. I'm usually like that. And so at first I was kind of thinking, oh, I should know how to video edit better. I should know how to do blah, 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 X, Y, and Z better. And then I thought, man, I'll just never do it. If I act like that, I should just do it. And so
Yeah.
I'm just doing it. And then when the COVID thing hit, it's like, okay, I guess I'm doing Zoom because like nobody can hang out in person. So it is what it
Right
is
on.
that way. So your first week back, have you started that filming yet, or
Yeah,
you're about to?
started filming Monday. We did a little tech rehearsal last week, and we started doing shows in earnest this past week.
Okay.
So that's, it's been fun. It's like, it's the first shows since all of this in the building, and so much. It's strange to, we've seen the show remotely, but it's strange for us to all be in the same room together, because we've done it remotely for so long and we've gotten used to that. So to think, I think probably many people over the past 4 months, as time went on, you look at whatever you did as your norm, and you sort of look at it from a distance, and you have like this other perspective on whatever it is that you were doing so regularly, so carefreely, and you're just like, wow, that was me. Whatever the hell it was. And that then you get some, it's interesting to get this perspective, and it's hopefully, I mean, for many it's very revealing, and for many it's probably very, harrowing, and for many it probably brings a lot of clarity. So it's like, for like, just to think, wow, pretty much for 5 days out of the week, and sometimes 6 days, out of the week, you're performing in front of an audience to some capacity, and that is your normal. And to look at that, it's like, wow, that was my normal. So yeah, it's just you can't help but look at the whole thing with this perspective that's just eye-opening.
And I didn't know that that the shows had started back up again, so I'll have to go back and check them out. But are you able to have guests then still? Are they getting tested?
Guests are still done. That's still done remotely. Guests are still. So there is still an aspect of it. That's why it's like, sort of like, we were, the level of production when it was like all being done from Jimmy's house, and when everybody in the band was like all recording stuff from home, all filming stuff from home, everybody was doing stuff from home. This is the step, towards where we were. Whereas, we were back in a studio. We're back in not the same studio, but we're back in a studio. The studio that we're in is actually across the hall from where we were.
Okay.
And the only thing that it's missing is the live in front of a studio audience. That, and the guests that are there coming, so you don't have that energy of a guest walking out in front of a studio audience, which is, of course, a big, that's one of the exciting elements of shows like that. But we're just, this is our version of soldiering on and bringing you every other, whatever other aspect there is to a show like that, to anybody that, to people that need it,
Yeah. So there's still skits, and there's still, you like still play music for the guest as they introduce them, type of thing, or is it kind of shifted a little bit?
No. I've been talking about like how, if that's going to be implemented again, if that would even, how that would translate, onto an at-home viewership. So as of now, no. But this is our first week back. We're sort of surveying what the week that just happened and what we want to keep and what we want to change.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it'll modulate as you guys figure out what can work and what's not going to work, right? So
yeah, we're getting our footing again.
yeah, man. Well, I have to say, it's I mean, it is an interesting perspective, because I've been to the show, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 times now through the last 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's always such an exciting time for me to visit you there, because of whoever is on the show, and just getting to watch it all go down, because it's such a, if for those out there that haven't seen a show like Jimmy's, it's like clockwork, right? You know, you guys
Yeah.
have such a tight ship of people that are making that happen behind the scenes, and the crowd is such a kind of an integral part of it too, so that it's kind of like, I can imagine it being like, oh, this, like you said, almost the thing, but wow, we have to pivot and be be like adaptive in this environment to make this thing kind of float out there in a similar way. But
yeah, like whatever awkwardness is there from that, we sort of have to like learn how to navigate through, and perhaps even utilize, some of
yeah,
that awkwardness that is there, but awkwardness has never been more universal.
oh my God, yeah.
So
How are you
what, and we
feeling?
can't say that we're unrelated, can't say it's not relatable.
That's true. Everything is kind of awkward right now, so and
Yeah. But I mean, that's in so many senses, even before all this, it's not like that was never a thing. It's just never been so universal,
yeah.
So I think those are the things that, like, all of these catchphrases that you would give lip service to, like, everybody suffers, everybody goes through things at certain times. It's just like, yeah, that's true, but as far as shared experiences go,
Mm.
it's never been so intense, and so not maybe intense is not the right word, but it's just never been so universal. It's never been so, things have never been experienced quite so simultaneously, and that's sort of what unified, like that, it's always discomfort, has always that's one thing that's always sort of unified us, but people may have been going through different things at different times, but as far as this the simultaneousness of it all now is undeniably unifying.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that it's interesting, that like the predominant, like looking back at the Roots catalog and looking at your most recent band, the 100-Watt Heart, just like lyrical content and the overall like a lot of it outlies the struggle of Black people in America, and dealing with all this type of kind of overcoming the scenario, or trying to raise visibility to certain situations. I'm curious, like, how does it feel on your end to be in the Roots? Like, the Roots is such a predominantly present band for a long time, flying the flag and trying to like raise awareness, and then yourself as a singer songwriter, it's like all this stuff has been so relevant for so long, but now all of a sudden it's like it's just super relevant. Yeah, everything seems to be super relevant. How does it feel to be here now with that?
It just sort of, I guess it gives a sense of validity to, and just a feeling of more relevance, and a feeling of validation of your viewpoints. When things that you may have sung before, that you may have thought that does this is it just me? You know, this sort of feels like a perspective that is not so universal. And then as a viewpoint becomes more universal, it's not like you're psyched
Right.
about it, you know, but it just makes you feel more that you're just more doing your job, and that it's not just, I mean, sound, of course, sound is important, vibration is important. And when that vibration is coupled with relevance, you just feel like you're just, there's a feeling of being in tune. And that's, you know, we all want to feel in tune to humanity, and we all want to, maybe we don't want to, or maybe we think we are, but just, you know, it's when things resonate, you know, when a guitar resonates, it sounds, it's creating harmony, and that's healing. And when human beings resonate, the hope is for the world to behave in the same way.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I was listening to 100 Watt Heart again. I went on a bike ride last night after I confirmed with you that we were going to do this, and I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to that album again. I haven't listened to it for a little while. And that first track, Turbulent Times, I believe it's the title track.
Yeah.
Just start. I wanted to say I got a little whiff of like kind of a Jimi Hendrix thing, kind of like just the acoustic guitar felt like cool and familiar. It had like it seemed like it had some influence there. I don't know, but just hearing that and going like, oh man, you know, like this has been a thing for so long, and I can only imagine what it's like to have been singing these songs and writing these songs, and then here we are, you know, with so much being magnified, and like the magnifying glass being put on our race relations and the things that actually really have mattered for a long time but haven't been getting the traction that they deserve, right? And it just made me think in kind of like a blue sky way. Like I'm curious about that, so that's why I ask. You know, is to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thought back when, you know, the record was released a little over a year ago, and the thought was, well, Turbulent Times, it feels appropriate now, and there's always been turbulent times. As long as there are humans roaming this earth and governing this earth, it's in the hands of the imperfect, you know.
Sure.
Nature is perfect and man is not. And you know, while we're here on this earth, we want to get we want to, like, I feel like we need to help each other and get to a better place than we were before. And you know, as life cycles and cycles, we either evolve or devolve. And you know, in many ways, undeniably, things have gotten better. And then there's still, you know, sickness, you know, in humanity. And there's, like, you know, it's part of our evolution. There's the things that have happened 40 years ago that you would say, okay, that's just so not happening anymore, you know. And then now there's things that are still happening, and we just need to we need to further evolve. We're just not done. You know, right. It's not like we're not done. And any change that has come about in life throughout time, it was not like, oh yeah, we should really stop this. What were we thinking? You know, nothing has ever happened that way. It's always been met with resistance. there's always had to be persistence to counter that. So that's why songs like that continue to be relevant. That's why, you know, we can expect resistance. That's why we know from history that we need to power through that. And these shifts happen, you know, they're not necessarily abrupt. It feels like it should be, but that's just, you know, when we're dealing with ripples and we're dealing with, you know, people that are used to doing things a certain way, and when we were used to things being institutionalized, that these things happen with changes that accumulate, and then you'll see more significant change over time. So I say all this to say that's why songs like these will have to, you know, will continue to be made. And that's why, you know, this is life with bumps and bruises, and and we have our own singular life as individuals, and we encounter our hardships that make us who we are. And then there's the collective version of that, and that's how societies can evolve. So individuals evolve, societies evolve, music evolves, many things stay the same. You know, a beautiful human, love, wanting to, you know, loving one's children, wanting to protect the ones you love, that's always going to stay the same. You know, these are
Right.
basic. So and music and vibration, these things, you know, it may sound different, and sometimes, you know, there's the music that you want to change and the music you listen to that push the envelope, and that you haven't heard it like this before. And then there's the music that the comfort foods of music. You know?
That's a good way of putting it. That's a really good way, because there's a lot of comfort food out there, but oftentimes, I don't know about for you, but for me, oftentimes my favorite music, I don't quite get or understand when I first hear it. And
Yeah,
sometimes I'm almost like very dismissive. I'm like, no, I don't like that.
yeah,
And then it takes a while. I hear it again or again, or the right person brings it back into my attention. Says, no, this is why you need to listen to this. And
yeah,
it, like,
yeah.
with this kind of like outside perspective, it says, no, just pay attention to this first, this little part right here.
Right.
See how innovative, see how different, see how magical that is. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, okay.
yeah. That's why Rick Beato is doing God's work.
Dude, big time. Dude, that guy and that channel, wow. I'm so impressed with him. I'm kind of late
Yeah,
to that game, but to his show, but he's incredible.
yeah. No, it's like, for many that don't have that musical friend, there's many that don't, you know, and for many he is. So it's cool.
Yeah, I remember having in high school, with junior high, actually, my one of my best buddies, his older brother was that guy to us, where he was
Yeah.
like, he had all the metal posters and all the rock posters, and we'd go into his room and he's like Iron Maiden everywhere, and we're just like, we don't even know what's cool, but like, you know, he'd be like, this is what's cool and this is why it's cool. You got to listen to
Yeah.
Metallica. It's this album, it's this Megadeth record, it's this Iron Maiden record. These things changed the world. And it's like, okay, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I mean, he was the one introducing me to Steve Vai. Like, I remember I actually had an Iron Maiden cassette I had somewhere in time. I just bought it used because our buddy Joey was cool, and I thought, oh, he's got Iron Maiden posters, I should get Iron Maiden tape, listen to it.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like fall in love with it, but that would happen to be the one tape that he didn't have out of like all the Iron Maiden. So he was like, hey man, I'll trade you the best guitar player in the universe for that. I was like, who's that? Is it Jimi Hendrix? And he's like, no man, it's Steve Vai. Listen to this. You're like, and it was Passion and Warfare. And I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't even play guitar yet, but I was fascinated by it. And I
Yeah.
remember falling asleep to those crazy sounds that he made with his guitar and his harmonizer and the
Oh
whammy
yeah.
bar. And I was just like, okay, all right.
Hmm.
Forever imprinted upon, you know?
Yeah.
thankful to have those people in my life.
Absolutely.
I'm curious about you, like growing up, like could you tell us a little bit about like when you started playing, and like was there somebody that influenced you in your life and in your family? And could you relate it to a little bit about around your first couple of guitar picks, like and tell us about, like, maybe you still play the same guitar picks as you started playing with back in the day, but like a little bit of history around like your plectrum use along the way.
Well, if you listen back to what you just said, that's a lot of ground to cover.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm drinking coffee.
No, but no, I can do that totally. But I definitely became fascinated with the guitar before touching one. I remember it was I guess it was my friend Chris Garcia. His brother played guitar. I remember like I'd go over to his place. I guess I must have been like 8 or 9, going to his house, and his brother was playing guitar, and his brother had all those records in his collection that he had the Maiden records, he had the Ozzy records, he had the Van Halen records, and he had this Les Paul copy, and I was just so fascinated. But it just looked like the most beautiful object. It was like a tobacco burst, and I was like, first of all, there's the sound that comes from it, that I'm and of course Kiss. He was into Kiss, and think of being that age, and you're into Marvel comics, and you're into superheroes and things that are supernatural, and then you've got this band that they just look so otherworldly and so cool, and also so like forbidden at the same time, and there's sort of like glam too, and they have these songs that you don't understand what they're talking about, but but the sounds that are coming from, and you associate, so this object makes this sound, whoa, and I was just so fascinated. We would go to the mall, and then there was this guitar shop, music shop, Family Melody Music, in Long Island, Smith Haven Mall, and just seeing them, they're all lined up, and there are just so many different colors. I mean, when you're a kid and you see like cars, everybody can relate to cars. Like cars are, trucks. You're a kid, you see a truck, and it's just like, whoa, truck, car, and they're colorful and they're moving, and guitars. I mean, in my young age, in my brain and perception, then they're like as cool as cars, but they made a far more musical sound than a car or a motorcycle. And so I was pestering my parents about it, about trying to get a Kiss album, and then soon after that, just being so curious about how they made the sounds that they were making, and then and all the so this is my experience at school, but at home, you're still getting fed music. So that was, reggae, it was reggae all, so much reggae that my parents are Jamaican. So it was all reggae, but my dad also loved ballads, and he loved the Commodores, he loved, Earth, Wind and Fire, and he loved, Elton John, so much Elton John, and Johnny Mathis and Linda Ronstadt, and then on Sundays, all this classical music. There's just like church music and class, every Sunday. And so that was like I was hearing all this melody in my life, but then I'd go to school and I'd go to my friend Chris's house, and I'd hear all this melody, but it was just sounding so exciting, and just then hearing elements of the rock and roll and the elements from the music my dad would listen to. I remember hearing the song Easy from the Commodores, and just hearing that guitar solo that's an Easy, and just yeah, it's so badass. And my dad's like, you like that, don't you? I was like, I love that, you know. And then the Bee Gees, and then, you know, and so I was, you know, I was super into the Bee Gees, and actually when I was really little, you know, so I was able to get a Kiss record, and then my dad was like, well, if you're gonna get a Kiss record, you should definitely get a Beatles record just to balance this out, you know.
Yeah.
And then, but I was also into my brother, he was also into Sly and the Family Stone and then Jackson 5, so I was hearing a lot of that music from him. And so it was this amalgamation of all that stuff. But the Bee Gees, they were like, I thought the Bee Gees and Kiss were the same band. And I would draw like the Kiss makeup on, like I had the greatest hits for the Bee Gees, and I was like, I don't know why, but maybe it's because I heard guitars in the music, and just, you know, young perception is beautiful in all of its naivete and misguidedness.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the Kiss were the Bee Gees, and they were like had the alter egos, and I realized that soon after that wasn't the case. But anyhow, when I was 10 years old, my parents told me that finally they're like, all right, we'll get you this guitar. And I remember just running all over the house, this house that I'm in now, just running all over and just being so excited that they were actually going to grant me this wish. And you know, because up to that point I tried piano and wasn't really resonating. I played viola. I was loath to practice. You know, I was way more interested in taking my mom's her Danish cookie tins and pens and like drumming on that. And I was much more interested in taking my viola and like trying to hold it like a guitar and play it like a guitar, or taking whatever, like, you know, this tennis racket and playing it like, you know, just, I was like, clearly I was drawn to have this thing and hold this thing and be with this thing. And so once they got that for me, and once I got a teacher, Dan McCarthy.
Whoa, what was that?
It was an ant, a really big ant.
Whoa.
Let me just make sure there's no more of them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Whoa. I don't know if you could see it.
Oh, I thought I saw it there for a second.
Can you see it now?
Whoa, yeah. Yeah, it's a big one. It's hauling ass too.
Yeah, it was on my knee.
Buddy.
Damn, like I'm gonna sleep in this bed tonight, and I'd really like to know if there's more of these around.
Right?
Damn.
I have to talk to Mom about that, see if there's an issue with there.
It's like one of the bigger ants that you see. I'm sorry about that. Can you see it still?
No, I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, the interview took a turn.
It's okay.
Well,
we gotta do our best with being, adaptive in these turbulent times.
Yeah, I normally, you know, my thing would be trying to like just get it out of the house. But for the sake of this interview, I try to be a little bit more monk-like about it, and just try to like usher it out of the house so it can still have its life.
Totally.
If I had a cup, I could probably do that. Sorry.
You're good. Maybe get it to crawl on a piece of paper or something.
Okay, I have him on
Yes. Now we're getting the tour of the house.
Yeah. He's on a guitar, an acoustic guitar humidifier. Okay. I'm here.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah. So I should also mention that around this time I also heard Eruption. And
oh man.
Yeah, so that just, so you have Kiss, you have the Bee Gees, and I get this guitar, and around the time I get the guitar is around the time MTV is happening, and I start seeing these Van Halen videos on MTV. I start seeing the Fair Warning videos, and man, I was just like, how do you make that sound? And and the beautiful thing about the guitar is, it's probably my favorite thing about the guitar is like how this one instrument can be just played at various levels of proficiency and be equally as effective. You don't you could be a guitar player in the Ramones and be impactful, or you could go the other extreme and you could be Andre Segovia or John McLaughlin or Steve Vai or Al Di Meola, and there's there's so many ways of expression on this instrument. So the beautiful thing was, like, once I was able to play a chord that we're cool. That was the main thing.
No, I'm the same way. As soon as I find a bug on me, then it's like every little tickle. I'm curious if it's a bug or not.
So yeah, I was able. I think the first Van Halen's, like, once I was able to, I think just to Unchained, like, just the intro to Unchained,
Man,
was just. It still is. It's just like the sound that he is getting. It's so beautiful, and it's also so bad. It's just, there's something that feels also forbidden about it too, and so rebellious about it. But also, but it comes back to this beauty, and just and so once I was able to, like, learn the chords of that, it just you just wanted to go further and further and deeper into that forest,
What was
and
that
the first guitar I had
guitar?
was like what kind of guitar did you say?
Yeah. What was that first guitar that you did get?
It was a Memphis Stratocaster. I wonder if I may even have the remnants of it.
Oh wow.
Or I may have thrown it out. Let me see if I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I may have it in pieces.
So is this your back stock of music equipment that lives at your mom's? Oh, you have it?
I haven't seen it in years.
Oh wow. Kirk Douglas's first guitar. Oh, look at that. Don't What happened to the headstock? How'd you break it?
Oh wow, what foreshadowing. I don't even remember. But yeah, it's got a couple of stickers of my, a band I was in called My Favorite, who's now The Secret History, who may be my favorite again. This band, I just like the sticker Bosley. It had one humbucker pickup, was like in the middle. It had like a tortoiseshell pickguard, and it's super small. This was the first guitar, and then after this, I had a Vantage guitar, and if you Google Vantage, like, it's like almost like a cross between a Strat and a SG.
Okay.
And then after that, then I had a Kramer Focus. And then after that, I got, when I was like 16, I got this guitar, a Kramer Elliot Easton signature model.
Okay.
Which I've been trying to find one of those again on eBay. But so anyhow, I got my first guitar when I was 10. I got the Kramer Elliot Easton when I was 16. And in between 10 and 16, I mean, my tastes, it continued to, I live, growing up on Long Island, it's, the sound of Long Island was rock and roll, so it was very much Van Halen, very much stuff they were playing on MTV. But I would go to summer camp, and the kids I'd hang out with at summer camp were from like Brooklyn and Queens, and while I'd be practicing guitar, like nobody really, not many wanted to hear that. And then I'd be exposed to a lot of hip hop out there from my cousins and my cousins as well, in addition to that. And then, so then it was what was on Yo MTV Raps. So I was like, into Run DMC, especially when they started fusing hip hop with rock. I thought that was, I was totally attracted to that. Of course, Michael Jackson, soon after I get a guitar, like then I discover like what Eddie Van Halen's on a Michael Jackson record. That's, you got your chocolate and my peanut butter, you got your peanut butter and chocolate, it was like, and so that continued. And then, when I remember after I was 14, I remember having like kind of like an awakening and just kind of this feeling that like, man, I'm listening to all this metal and I'm just seeing like nobody that looks like me represented, and just feeling and just kind of like not being able to articulate it at the time, but just like I could just feel like I just didn't feel like there was a future in it for me. And I felt like I really had to go back in time, and that's when I started to really get into Hendrix, and then and really appreciating him, and just getting a perspective on where he fit in the lineage of rock guitar, and naturally from there, getting more aware of the blues. And but still not becoming fully aware, because this is also at the time when I'm starting to hear music that resonates with me, with alternative and just bands like The Cure and the Smiths, and then Living Colour comes out, and then like that blew my mind completely, and just like there's ways to still be Black and still make music that sounds beautifully aggressive, that's soulful and that's conscious, and just it's just where I didn't feel like I could be my authentic self and play this kind of music. And then from there, then discovering Fishbone, and then then hearing Freddie's Dead, and then discovering Curtis Mayfield, and it just, there was so much wonder and discovery. And then like discovering bands like the Cocteau Twins and like 4AD bands and more like ethereal bands. Like this is like when I'm just graduating high school.
Love that.
And again, The Cure, and just other ways that the guitar could be used as more of a textural instrument, and it was less about virtuosity, and it was fun, especially after chasing virtuosity for all these years, and then just at some point just sort of inviting everything to the party, but all through that time, what pick did I use? See, I'm not going to forget the original end of the question. And I've always used the same pick. I've always, this is always the one, the Dunlop.
Is that a nylon?
It's a nylon 60 millimeter.
Oh yeah, it's the light gray, right?
Yeah. That's probably the first one I started using, and it's still the same. I love that I can, I'm just less likely to break a string with it. And I love that I can strum with it, and I love that I can solo with it, both the same. The only thing I don't, sometimes I don't use it on acoustic. Sometimes for an acoustic, I will use more of a medium, a regular, typical medium.
Like a Tortex style?
Yeah, I think, well, now we're opening up a whole other box of worms, because I have. This is where I keep all of the picks from players that I've admired over the years.
Oh, cool. What do you got in there?
Oh man, I don't know if we're ready to go into this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anything you want to share,
This is
man?
like a segment on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this might make this a two-parter. Okay. First pick I'm gonna show is this.
Oh, Spinal Tap. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Nigel Tufnell's pick.
Oh,
These
man.
are because of the Tonight Show. Anytime a guitar player comes on that I'm a fan of, I make it a point to bother them and try to get a pick.
As you should.
So we've been on the Tonight Show for like 11 years, and that's given me the opportunity to amass a lot of them. Let's see what else we have. I got, this is John Mayer's pick.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to have to go quickly because there's so many.
Yeah, go for it.
It's Phil Collin.
That's the brass one, right?
Yeah, Phil Collin from Def Leppard. You probably seen the birth of many of these.
Yeah, I was there when we made those. Yeah, for the Phil Collin one for sure.
We've got an Yngwie Malmsteen.
Oh yeah, I've got a few of those. Nice.
This is one of my favorite players. This is Mark Ford from the Black Crowes.
Oh, cool. Oh, it's done like a Fender style, the Fender font.
Exactly. See the Ford. I got an Eddie pick.
Oh yeah, dude. That's awesome. Is that got the grip on it? Is that the max grip?
This got the grip, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I have a Wolfgang pick. I have Son of Eddie.
Yes. He seems like a good kid.
He is, yeah.
Not really a kid anymore, but
I know. I got.
Oh yeah, I made that one for you. Roots Picnic. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, I said I was going to go quickly, and I'm not going quickly at all. All right, I got Here's a Kiss. Another John Mayer. Another John Mayer. He had so many different kinds of picks and so many cool ones that I had to like. Here's a Warren Haynes.
Oh yeah.
Here's a Brad Paisley.
Oh, that's awesome. He's a great player. What man.
Oh yeah. Here's a Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon.
That's
that. Oh yeah, you too. I was gonna say that's. Yep.
George Benson.
Is that an Ibanez pick?
Yep. Yeah. Are these coming in focus? Are you able
They're
to
they're a little fuzzy. If you back it off just a little bit right there, I think that's about. Yeah, you can start to see it there. I think it's because the light, it washes it out a little bit, but it's pretty good when it's backed off. Yeah, that's better.
All right.
That's cool.
That's a George Benson. I got a.
Who is that? Pete Townsend? Oh yeah. Who? More Kiss.
That's Paul's.
Okay. Who's that? Daryl
Stumer from Phil Collins.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
he plays all the ominous noises in the air tonight.
Oh, okay.
I got a Willie Nelson.
Oh, awesome. Willie's man.
That's a Captain Kirk.
Oh yeah. Cool. I like that one.
For that. This is a Michael Hampton from Perlman Funkadelic.
Yeah. Nice. The Tortex.
Yeah. I got here's a Gary Clark Jr.
Oh man, he's the baddest.
Yeah.
You guys did a remix with him, right? Like of This Land, didn't you?
Yeah. We played it with him on the Tonight Show, and they pretty much used like the audio from that performance.
Oh, that's okay. That makes sense. Your audio just dropped out. Not sure.
That's a call I'm not
There it is.
sure. This is Grace Potter.
Grace Potter.
I got a Steve Lukather.
Oh man, what a ripping player! Is that a tear? That's a teardrop style. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know he played that.
Mick Mars.
Motley Crue.
Uh,
I think the big question is did you get one from Prince?
no, I did not get one from Prince.
You got a different kind of gift from him.
Yeah, exactly. Rick Nelson.
Oh yeah, Cheap Trick.
Nelson, Cheap Trick.
That's dope.
I think I'm getting towards the end here. Oh, here's one from Bruce. This is a Bruce Springsteen pick.
Whoa, is that like a tape on it or something? What is that?
Yeah, it's like some sort of like grip that his roadies like put on his pick so he doesn't drop them.
That's cool. I didn't know he played a try either.
Yeah. Here's a Peter Stroud from Sheryl Crow.
He's a great dude. Great player.
And I got a Zach Wild. That's a Zach Wild.
Yeah. Love Father Zach.
And I got an Andrew Watt.
Andrew Watt.
Andrew Watt is the producer, and he plays most of the guitar. Most on the new Ozzy record.
On the new Ozzy record?
Have you heard the new Ozzy record?
I've heard chunks of it. Yeah, the one that it's got like Post Malone on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Andrew Watt used to be an intern for the Roots and has gone on to be like one of the like heavyweight producers of modern pop music.
Wow.
And he's worked with Post Malone a lot. And then so he got Post and Ozzy to do a song together. And then there's like, well, we should make a whole album. And so they made a whole album. And Andrew wrote those songs with Ozzy.
That's
and
crazy.
They're like really good.
I'll give it a full listen.
Yeah, it definitely deserves a full listen. And finally, well, before I get to finally, this is Rich Robinson from the Black Crowes.
Yeah.
I have Mike McCready.
Oh, another favorite. Oh, I love that pick too. That's cool because it's got his dog on it.
Yeah.
Or dogs.
And like I was saying, probably my favorite one is this one. Oh wait, where'd it go? I don't know where'd it go. Oh, have you seen one of these?
Does it say Dan Smith will teach you guitar?
Have you ever heard of this guy?
No, I don't think I have.
He's sort of a New York legend. All over New York, there's posters of this guy, and he's he's like this regular-looking dude, but his posters are everywhere. Like they're just ubiquitous in New York. And I actually have one of his picks, and people that know about this guy, like when they see that, they're like, "Whoa, where'd you get one of those?" So that's. I think I have more. But you get the idea. I have a lot of
that's amazing. No, you're one of the first people to be on the podcast that I actually shared a chunk of their collection. So it's super cool to to witness what you've got kept in your little stash there.
Yeah. I definitely some happy memories.
I mean, you've been at such an interesting vantage point for the last decade, getting to play with such a wide variety of players through the show. And I know you've played with a handful of your personal heroes. You know, I'm curious who might be the top 3 or 4 people that you feel like, oh man, when that person came to the show and we got to play with them, it just blew my mind. You know.
I mean, yeah, there's so many. I mean,
maybe that's a weird question because there's so many.
Yeah, like John McLaughlin, when he came, that was mind-blowing to play with him. George Benson, I mean, Yngwie Malmsteen, you know, it's just, I mean, think about it, man. Like, I just remember showing up to work we have a tiny rehearsal room, and I remember showing up into the tiny rehearsal room, and he had his half stack in there, and it was like
only one, not 6.
I know, right? He was being very modest, but it was the YJM model Marshall, and I just geeking out, man, just taking pictures of the YJM on his head, and yeah, just to see it up close, it's like, you know, these when you have a sound and there's a sound that's on all these records, and you've heard all these records for like your whole life, and then the source of that sound, you know, not the equipment, but the fingers, you're looking at the fingers on the string, and it's right there in front of you. It's just you then you start noticing like a pain from your smile that you just can't believe that you're, you know, cheesing so hard witnessing this, you know. And I remember when Yngwie played, we did the song Black Star, and it's like there's a song, it's one of his first popular song. I remember it was like on the flexi disc on the Guitar Player magazine, and I got to play the harmony with him on it. So that was pretty wild. And one thing that was always fun that we used to do is when we had a guest sit in with us, Jimmy would do his monologue, and then said guitar player would just shred for a little bit. And, you know, Questlove would be like, all right, well, since this is the guitar department, you know, you should pick whatever they shred upon. And that was always fun, just thinking, what would I love to hear them like solo on? And to be trusted with making that call. And so like when we had Phil Collen, is it Phil Collen or Phil Collen? It's 2 L's.
I think it's Phil Collen. Yeah, it's just Phil Collen, I think. Because yeah.
All right, we had Phil Collen on. Phil, so it's like, what does he play when Jimmy goes to the desk? I'm thinking he's got to play the solo to Photograph. That's like a song within a song itself, you know. And so just for him to be like, come in and be like, all right, so what should we do? All right, so can you play Photograph, do you think? And he'd be like, sure. And just hearing that, just like, you know, I mean, I forgot to mention, but like, you know, Def Leppard, when I first got a guitar, like that's what was popping.
Right.
5th grade, it was all about, you know, Pyromania. It was the bands I mentioned that I was more passionate about, but Pyromania, that was like the classic pop album, and but it just happened to be rock. But yeah, so that I remember when Ace Frehley sat in with us. And so it's like, what should he play when Jimmy's going to his desk? He's got to do like the there's like a riff that's on the first Kiss album that he live would always solo through. It was, oh no, not that. No, I'm sorry. It was the guitar solo to Parasite. So I was like, can you solo over that? He's like, yeah, I'll solo. And so he did that, and that, you know, just just like a kid. It just feels like your heroes are like kind of taking your requests. That's sort of what it feels like in my mind. George Benson, what did he play? Well, for his warm up, we did Breezin'. So like for his walkover, Jimmy's walkover, he played like a little bit of Breezin'. That was like kind of the obvious choice.
Sure.
But yeah, stuff like that, but you asked, your original question was who. We had Joe Bonamassa come in, and that was, my God, like he came in with, I think the only thing he used was a Fender Twin, and it was cranked. He just used a cranked Fender Twin. It was like off to the side. It was over by our horn players, and there was no power soak. He gets his sustain from that thing cranked.
Wow.
And our horn players were just like, we could just see the hairs on our arms moving from the air that thing was pushing. And it was like, yeah, that's just sort of how that this is where the amps have to be, and this is how I get my sound. So sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you guys have like such a controlled environment. You got power soaks or whatever you need to like kind of corral the sound on that stage, right? Like,
yeah. And then there's some players that come in, like Joe Perry. He came in, he had like a little box valve state,
Really?
Yeah, that's what he used. Todd Rongren, it was great to have Todd Rongren on the show. I've gotten into him like later, and just he actually played my signature guitar. Like he came in and he was like, "That's a nice SG." And I was like, "Oh, that's my signature SG. You can play it for the show." And he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to." And then, so that was super fun. Christopher Cross, we played with him. He said he was just ridiculous. Gary Clark Jr., first time, I hear about Gary Clark Jr. like that week, and then he's playing with us that week. And this is just going from hearing about him to him playing with us.
Mm-hmm.
To like after we play the show, I go to see him play downtown at this little tiny place, like Soho House, this like tiny room, and Kiefer Sutherland's there, Zoe Kravitz is there, and I mean it was like, like when people say what it was like to see like Hendrix back in the day, just like in terms of like he really, there was like that sense of blues voodoo that was just so obviously there, that everybody was so obviously like a witness of. And it was like, and it's just, to do what I've been able to be doing, playing with the Roots and playing, with the Tonight Show and Jimmy Fallon, just it's really enabled me like as like just a fan of the guitar to see so much stuff go down firsthand. And it's just I just feel incredibly fortunate to have witnessed the guitardom, the music, the humor, the just everything. I'm just so grateful for all of it.
You seem like such a perfect fit for not only for the band as a somebody coming in and taking over that spot, but then for this to happen as a part of the evolution of the band, and there to be the need for such a wide variety of styles and tones. And here you are already at the cross section. You're already in love with rock music and hip hop and reggae and soul and have a taste for all those things. And then for Quest to be like, okay, so when the guitar players show up, you're like, you got to handle that. Like, you're like, like you gonna pay me to handle? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I got you.
I mean, it was really fun. Like we've had probably, like when I think of like who players we played with the most often, we played with Gary a bunch, but like Aerosmith, we played with Steven Tyler sat in with us, Brad Whitford sat in with us, and Joe Perry sat in with us individually. And we also did tiny instruments, like classroom instruments. You know, we did Walk This Way with them. So we've played with Aerosmith, you know, like it's been like 4 times, I guess, in some configuration. And every time somebody from Aerosmith sat in, I would always, like, there's a song they have called Shame on You that was on Done with Mirrors that, like, nobody I know really cares about that song. But I love this song, and this riff was just like, I think it's such an amazing riff. I'm like, I was always, and every time, like, it's been so much selfish joy for me to just, every time, like, each having the same conversation with each one, and just like, this song is so great. Like, how come you guys don't do this live? And then to hear them listen to the song, because they've recorded so many songs, for them to hear it back and be like, you know, this is a great song. And they, like, a song that they totally disregarded, and for them to, like, to get them to, like, listen to their own stuff and acknowledge, just like, you know what, that was pretty badass. Like, maybe we will bring the song out again, you know.
That's cool.
So yeah, just moments like those just made it really, like I described, giving me a selfish, well, you know, like I'm not, maybe not selfish, but for all, I don't know, for every guitar player, like, try to think of, like, what would most guitar players want to ask of somebody, or, you know. Oh my God, I forgot to mention Nile Rodgers. Like, that, like, playing with him, man, I wasn't able to get a pic from him, but I got an amazing picture with him, though. And I got to play his Hitmaker guitar, his Strat that he played on all those. I don't know if it was the exact one, but it was the one he was playing for the day.
Sure.
Because I'm sure he has replicas of that. But just to be in the presence of Nile, and just the power of his right hand and the tightness and the funkiness of his right hand was just, it's just, yeah. I can go on and on.
Well, I know one of the times that I was at the show, Robert Plant was there, and I was curious, did you ever actually get to jam or sit in with his band at all?
No. Was it when he was a couch guest?
I thought he performed that with the Band of Joy, or maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, yeah. That's right. He may have. Yeah, I didn't get to play with him. That would have been super fun to do that too. But I got to talk to my friend Victoria. Came to that show, and she's a huge Zeppelin fan, and I got to introduce her to Robert Plant, and that was fun seeing her. So excited.
My excitement was A, seeing the show, but B, standing in the back hallway afterwards and just seeing him from like 10 feet away talking to people. I was like, my life's complete. Robert Plant's right there.
Yeah. I mean, all this time while that stuff was going on, I always had a sense of, like, really, like, whatever it means to be here and now and just enjoy the moment, like have as full of an acknowledgement of that, because at some point that's not going to be happening, you know, for whatever reason. So I'm really glad that I was lucid for those times, and I hope for a time when we're able to do that stuff again, because it was like, you say, just to be in that hallway, which you've been in many times, that's like the most fun hallway to be in.
Dude, one of the last times I was there, Martin Short walked by in full costume, or from some other show that he was doing. I don't know what he was doing, but he just walked by smiling and, like, drinking tea or something, and looked at us, and we were just like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the interactions for you have been innumerable, you know, throughout the years, but
yeah.
Sharing with Saturday Night Live and all that too.
Yeah. Oh, when Jimmy Page came to the show, that was a really cool story. Jimmy Page, on this day, it was a crazy day. Jack White was on the show. Jimmy Page was on the show. And I think they weren't on the same show, but they were taping, like they're for different shows, but they were in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And John Mayer had to like film something. So it was like a really big guitar day.
Wow.
So I was getting in hair and makeup, and I was getting my hair and makeup done, and while Jimmy Page was getting his hair and makeup done. So we were both in the hair and makeup chairs together, and we were talking about, I think he did some ad for John Varvatos with Gary Clark Jr. So I was talking to Jimmy about Gary. He's like, "Are you a fan of Gary's?" I was like, "Oh yeah, big time. I mean, of course." And then I mentioned to him how, one of my favorite Zeppelin song, I was just like, man, In the Light, like, just, I have a really amazing stereo at home, and just the way your guitars sound, they just really sound like they're in the room with you, like the outro solos. And he's like, "Oh, I love that track." He's like, "Robert really nailed it with that song," he said. And so the thing with the walk-on, every guest that would come out, we have to think of, like, what are we going to play for certain guests when they walk out?
Yeah.
And that's probably my absolute favorite part about the gig, which is why I hope we bring it back, because I really miss that, because it's a time to like give an opportunity to like give like a sort of a musical nod or wink to whatever situation, plays something that you may, it could be the artist's favorite song, it could be a song that has some sort of history with the artist. Like Michael Strahan came on the show, and we did the Dave Matthews song, "The Space Between," in reference to the tooth gap.
Great song,
but yeah, also. And then I'm trying to figure out what should we do for Jimmy Page. And I remember we saw, I saw It Might Get Loud. Have you seen that?
Very cool. Yes, I love it.
There's a part of the movie where Jimmy is playing Rumble by Link Ray, and he's playing it on a stereo, and he's just looking at the camera. He doesn't even say anything, but he's just like, he's looking at it, just like, this is what it's all about. He's just playing it, and it's always, I always love when artists that you're a fan of, when they show that they're fans of music, it's like, it's just emphasizes the circle of life, and how people that influence you have been influenced from somewhere, and that they were once you. So when it was time to think of what Jimmy's walk out, like last minute, I remember we should do Rumble, and then we played it when we walked out, and so like 3 years later, my friend works at a record store, and he said, he calls me, he's like, "Jimmy Page is at our record store right now."
Oh.
And I just got out of work, and so I went right down to the record store, and he was still there.
Whoa.
And I walked in, and he was there. I was like, and I introduced myself. I was like, "I played guitar for the Roots, and we got our makeup done together." and actually, I came up with the idea to play Rumble when he walked out, and he was like, "Oh, when that happened, it's like the hairs were standing up on my arms when I was walking." Just, I felt like I could stop working that day. It's like, man, I just helped Jimmy Page to have a moment, that felt, yeah.
That's incredible. To be
Yeah,
able to affect him in any remote way like that, after the countless hours of you absorbing Zeppelin. Yeah, I'd be like, "Dude, rewind that. Let's listen to that again." Oh man. Or I don't know if you ever, for me, there's been just seasons in my life where I just have an album on repeat. you know, and in Zeppelin, in my high school years, kind of as we're starting to party and kind of like go out and do stuff, it was like there was times where it was just like you go over to a friend's barbecue and we're just only listening to Zeppelin, you know, until somebody couldn't stand it anymore, and then they'd have to change it. But it was like could be a while, you know, could be the whole day.
Yeah,
So,
right.
what a great story. Thanks for sharing that. That's super cool.
I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as me.
Yeah, I do. Well, because I'm in a kind of a parallel place at times where like I get to interact with such great artists that are heroes of mine that at some point have really affected me, and then I end up in a project with them where I'm like, oh, I'm either creating a pick for them, or I'm creating a guitar for them, or a pedal, or whatever. I'm even doing an ad campaign or a video shoot or something, just to do, you know, like any number of things throughout the career. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, like for one small example, like this is, there's probably a bunch that I can't think of it on the spot, but I remember being out with Deftones when I was still living in Seattle at the same Paramount Theater that I met you at back when I with the Dan Armstrong guitar.
Yeah.
But it was that place Deftones were headlining, and I went down to go talk to Steph, and we were chatting. He was smoking, and I was like, he was talking about getting his 8-string guitars and moving up from 7-string, and I was like, dude, well, 8-string guitars, man, you must be stoked on Animals as Leaders, right? And he's like, who? And I was like, oh, well, you're in for it. You're in for it, dude. Like, I know you know about Meshuggah, and Meshuggah is like 8-string leaders of the world and this and that. But check out Animals as Leaders. Like within 6 months, like he had Animals as Leaders playing with Deftones, and I was like, I had a part to play in that right there. I see it, you know.
Yeah.
Little things, you know. We're like, oh man, if you check this out, you know, like like I don't know what it was. I mean, it's silly things where I did a project with Geezer Butler, a couple different projects with Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath, and I got to drive him around a little bit, like in my car, and like taking him to the hotel. Yeah, just, you know, it was like taking him to a video shoot where we were doing his custom pickups at EMG back in the day, and he's like, oh, I love music, and I love this kind of music, and I love that. And we were just kind of going back and forth. And I was like, great, cool, I'll put on some music. And so I put on something that we were talking about. I think it was Alt J. I think Alt J was like his favorite band at the time.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, you know who I really love? And I'm like, wow. Like, and so I had Spotify or whatever, and I just put it on. And he's like, oh, but I don't listen to music in the car. And I was like, got it, no problem. You know, I felt like, oh, okay, screwed that one up kind of. But he's such a sweetheart. He's like, I don't listen to music in the car. I'm like, okay.
Wow, fun fact.
Yeah, but yeah, I had a couple of really great times with that guy, and that band is, you know, just they're like my Zeppelin, even though Zeppelin is Zeppelin, but like Black Sabbath for whatever reason, just my dad in playing it early on. It's like Black Sabbath and Jimi Hendrix and T-Rex. Mark Bolan and T-Rex was like the other like guitar sound in my head.
Yeah. There's something, man. It's just like, you know, you've obviously been, you know, bitten by this bug that just, it's just such a, it's like all the flavors of tones, all the amplifiers, all the different combinations of guitar to amp, a pedal effect. There's just so many ways. It's and there's so many variations, as many as, you know, and it gets to the realm of like when you're dealing with like fine wines or craft beers. Just the different, you know, when certain tones are married to songs, and when they fit together, and when they have the power to reach so many people, or not, you know, but just then you go, and then that's hearing it in its recorded form. Then there's like sitting in front of an amplifier that's the right amplifier for that guitar, that's in the right hands, and to be like in the room with it. That's why when live music becomes a thing again, it's going to be, people are going to just lose their minds in a way that's we haven't seen in a really long time.
It's really obvious too, man, that you've done a lot of homework on the tone, especially on 100-Watt Heart. I love that name. I'm going to say it again, 100-Watt Heart. What a cool name it is, because I think the name actually says two major things about you. One is amplification. Like it kind of comes from this knowing of like maybe a Marshall head or a Mesa Boogie head or something, and like feeling the energy and the power that it holds. And then it being you have a lot of heart, like, and you come across as like a very kind of tuned into humanity type person that has kind of, as we were talking in the beginning, like you're looking, and I can hear it in your lyrics too, like that you're interested in humanity harmonizing and relational harmonizing. And I don't know if that's from being in a long-term relationship with your wife or just in general and like all that, but I love that name and the tones that you got on that record. I was just, you got to listen to it with headphones to like to kind of be enveloped in it a little bit, so that you can kind of, because you captured the sound of a band in a room. I don't know how you recorded exactly, but you're like, it's almost like the tones on the album are like homage to a lot of your favorite players, it seems.
Oh,
like.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's because the thing is, it's like you have, from doing this for so long, you get to amass some equipment, and it's great to have, like what I was describing before, like just, to have the sound captured the best way possible, which still is not the experience of being in the room, but you just try to do as close as you can, as much as you can. And, especially that's why I like coming out to, I spend as much time as I can out here at my mom's. And this is where I have a lot of the gear that I used to make that record. That record we recorded at Electric Lady Studios in New York City. And over here, I'm in my room. This is the room I grew up in.
Amazing.
But I have a couple amps up here. This is an old Supro. I of course got into Supros when hearing the folklore of the Stairway to Heaven solo being done on a little Supro. And that's a Supro from like the 60s. But I also have a newer version of Supro. Like I have a new, can you see that? Oh,
yeah, they've really come back with some really great stuff.
Yeah. So out here I have like, there's definitely more amplification in other parts of the house, but I love coming out here because I could really turn up, and without neighbors complaining like they would if I was in Brooklyn. And I haven't, for the past 4 months, I haven't been coming out here to give my mom space, but I've been tested 3 times this week for COVID, and all 3 tests came back negative.
That's great.
And I feel confident that today is going to be the day where I break the silence and I push some air. So
yeah, that's amazing, man. I just I'm really glad that things are good. I assume that the wife and kids, you have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids. Yeah, they're actually in Denmark. They went to Denmark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're going to do next school year in Denmark because their Denmark is way closer to normalcy than we are over here. Their death toll and the cases are down, pretty low. Wow. And a lot of things have, opened up. School is already back in session towards the end of last school year. by the
Wow.
end of it. And so they're my kids are gonna, they speak Danish, and they're gonna do the next school year over there and just have a different cultural experience. And I get to practice more and catch up on some playing, some shedding that I had missed out on a little bit because of parenting and
Sure.
fatherhood and no, parenting and fatherhood, those are the same thing. Parenting and husbanding and tonight showing and rootsmanship and all these things. Like, it's, to be in the room. This is the room that I like shed in when I was, ages ago. So I have to really discipline myself to kind of get back there and kind of, okay, how can I go about practicing with a more mature outlook. you
Mm-hmm.
know Actually, one thing I got that I'm going to get into, have you heard about this book, Videology?
No.
It's Steve Vai's music theory book.
Oh, wow. I'm going to pick
Yeah,
it up. Looks like you got
yeah,
yours signed.
yeah. I met somebody randomly that knows, that I think was his publicist or something, and knows his son,
Sure.
Fire Vai, that's his name.
Yeah.
And she reached out to him, and she asked if he, you know, if I could get a book, because I was like, I've been really wanting to get Videology, and she made it happen, and she complete with a signature. So I
That's
have to
awesome.
really. He's like one of the only players. I've gotten to meet so many players that I was a fan of when growing up, and I never got to meet Steve Vai.
Oh,
So
man.
one day that would be amazing, because he was a huge influence on me too. And just reading his interviews and just his, he's seems like someone very in touch with the the real soul of music and the vibration of music and where it comes from, and just trying to be as good a human as possible, and trying to evolve spiritually.
Mm.
And that resonated with me from when I was a teenager. So it's cool. It's kind of cool to have this interaction with him, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe I feel, well, I won't get to meet him until I like actually put some work into this book. So
Man, he definitely, like I said before, he definitely a big inspiration, and I praise him for being one of the most uniquely expressive people on the instrument, right? Because he's
yeah,
so wildly like outside of normal when you,
yeah,
especially in the earlier days, and I've met him a few times. I made some picks for him,
yeah,
and it was a couple years ago. Like, talk about like little uh, bonuses of the job. Like, I showed up to one of his camps out here or out in Southern California, and he did a couple years ago, and I was just there to kind of like hang out and talk to him, give a couple of picks and like walk around and talk to other players that were doing lessons, and I had brought my guitar because I was staying 2 nights at the Hard Rock Hotels in Palm Springs, and he,
oh wait, I think I saw that you jammed with him.
I jammed with him.
That was amazing. I saw that.
I'm still like, what? That's not even real. I have to go back and watch it every once in a while. I'm like, because it was one of the very few times in my life where I kind of felt like I blacked out a little bit. I don't even know what I played because I
Yeah,
was
it
just
was
so
good.
nervous. I was so
It was
nervous.
good.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's you know, that's a moment where I'm just like, okay, especially because I told you that story. I'm like, he was the first guy that somebody said, "Yeah, this is the number one guitar player in the universe, and you're gonna listen to it." And I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna listen to it instead of Iron Maiden.
yeah,
And I would fall asleep listening to Passion and Warfare, and then I connected to somewhere. I was like, oh, this is the guy that was the devil in Crossroads, the devil's guy in Crossroads with Ralph Macchio. Oh, and then to be on stage, yeah, whatever. It was crazy. So I have a feeling that he's such a sweet guy. I'm sure he would love to meet you when the time is right. Like,
one day.
yeah, yeah. Um, I know thank you for spending so much time. First of all, I really appreciate that. And I want to kind of wrap it up a little bit, but I want to ask you like a couple things. The biggest one for me is, and I want to say it retroactively, thank you big time for sending me that signed copy of How I Got Over. I'm still like of the vinyl, man, because like I've got a little small like you collect pics, I collect pics, I collect signed vinyl from my favorite artists if I can get it. And that album, it came to me, you guys put it out at a time when I was going through a divorce. And like literally how I got over was like listening to that record
Wow.
endlessly. That and the Erykah Badu album that came out that year, which was New America. And but those two records were kind of like for me so amazing. And so I still am really excited about that. And it may be my favorite record just because of the Roots catalog, because of the time period that it came out. But
Right.
I'm curious around like what's going on, if you have any insight or can say anything about like what the future of full album releases might be with the Roots, because it's been a while.
There's a lot of recorded material, and it's really a matter of sifting through the mountains of recorded material. And for Tariq to find what he wants to rhyme on. He's rhymed on some things. Right before COVID, we were really getting ready to like finalize, make that happen. And I think we kind of got set back with it. So I think now that everybody's seeing each other, we're like in each other's universe again. They're going to get back on that train. But it's the process, like where we last left everything was just a matter of finding which material he wants to rap on. So he began some, but he just needs to continue. And because in the interim of that, Black Thought's been doing his solo stuff too.
Right.
I think he just dropped a single today on his own.
Oh, okay.
So, there's the stuff that he wants to do for him, and there's the stuff that he wants to do for the Roots. So it's like the same medium, but it's like, how do you decide what's the Roots and what's Black Thought? Does
Tariq, is he the one that came up with like the kind of concept records? The last two records were kind of more conceptual, it felt like, than all the previous. How I Got Over might have been somewhat conceptual to you guys too, but it seemed more like an evolutionary part of previous records. It kind of like brought it into kind of maybe somewhat of a pop context a little bit more. And then Undone and Shoot Your Cousin, those two kind of seemed more conceptual to me. Do you think that you guys will do more of that? Or
another thing is, Rich Nichols, that was the Roots manager. He passed away he passed away, I think, before And Then You Shoot Your Cousin came out. And he's always been very instrumental in the concepts of the records. He's like kind of like a fifth Beatle in that sense.
Oh, okay.
So it's, going forward, there's a great deal of everybody wanting to really make sure that it's up to those standards, concept wise. So that's sort of, I think that's also participated in as to why it's taken so long too, because he was such a guiding force in the concepts of the Roots records, but he wasn't writing the rhymes, what I mean? Right. So it's just a matter of Tariq, funneling the ideas into like something that he feels comfortable releasing as a full album, and also, Questlove also, signing on with that too.
Sure. Yeah, I
So,
assumed that it had to do that. It seems like Quest and Tariq are the kind of the guiding, like thematic things, but I didn't know anything about the manager being a part of that. So that's interesting to know.
oh yeah, definitely. If you read Questlove's book Mo Meta Blues, it's a really good insight uh, on the mechanics of him and also how the band works
Okay,
too. And
cool.
Rich Nichols plays a big part in that book as well. So
Got it.
yeah,
Thanks for sharing that. I look forward to whatever you guys end up coming up with.
me
I
too.
just, man. And I guess the last kind of thing to ask would be to know, like, what have you been listening to recently, and is there any particular artists that maybe we don't know about that you could shout out, guitar players or just
Well,
bands in general, just music?
I mean, I love Krungbin. You know,
Ah, one of
I
my
think
favorite
we may have
bands.
talked about them before.
I think we did. Yeah, I did. I had Mark on the podcast a while back, and one of my
Oh, really?
favorites. Yeah,
Yeah,
so good.
he's incredible, and just the band, just the fact that they exist
Yeah,
in modern times is just such a blessing, I think.
agreed.
Um, I remember one of the last day, like back in close to Christmas time, we were casually. Questlove comes into the room. It's like, here's some band. I'm like, you talking about Krungbin? It's like, yeah, them. It's like, their bass player. She's a guest of mine today. I was like,
Oh,
what? And then like right behind him, like the door opens and it's Laura
Laura
Lees.
Lee. Yeah,
Oh my, like I just bugged. I bugged because I mean
rightfully so.
she's beautiful, but she's so badass. Like
Mm-hmm.
her, I love her bass lines. I love her pocket. I just love the way she fits in with the band.
Yep.
It's just I love her bass sound. Um, and she was just right there, like in front of me. It's just like, she was just coming to watch the show.
Man,
So yeah, so them, I love them obviously. I love Unknown Mortal Orchestra. I'm a big fan of Ruben Nielsen and
nice.
his songwriting and his playing, of course. I've been listening to a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire and Chicago. I just saw the
Can't,
Terry Kath movie
oh, I haven't seen it.
documentary that his daughter did a documentary on his life.
Okay.
And he's just such an unsung hero. I'm a big fan of his playing and his singing and just his, and there's so much music that they put out, and just their the Chicago documentary is definitely a must watch. So them, I always, I love, um, I love the radio. I live in New York, and I love W. Uh, KCR. There's a reggae show. I love old reggae. I'm just fascinated by how, after so many years, this little island of Jamaica has put out so much reggae music, and how there's still so much I haven't heard in that genre. It just marvels me, and
Mm.
I just I just love that reggae. So yeah, not one particular artist, but I just love that within that genre, there's still things to unearth. I also love, Daptone, and just that whole movement of music. There's just, it's great to take, because it's such a pure, honest sound. That they really captured the aesthetic of capturing these instruments in their raw form, but giving you new songs,
Mm.
and that's, there's it's like, again, it goes back to that comfort food thing. There's always, if you're not a vegetarian, there's always going to be always going to be a place for a burger, you know. And if you are vegetarian, like a good salad, a good well-seasoned salad, it's not, you know, rewriting a book, but it's something, it's just, that's what you need. And I think, you know, that's the musical equivalent. I think that's the culinary equivalent to a good soul, you know, good funk, you know, good rock, you know, good, you know, or things that are organic, a good song played on a beautiful sounding acoustic guitar that's sung well. These are the things that will never be obsolete, you know. And, you know, and then, but, you know, as far as, you know, that's why I'm not really, you know, I can appreciate, I guess, techno, but like, it's, I guess, a little bit too synthetic for me. But if it's in the service of a song, if there's a good song that's wearing the clothing of, you know, synthetic sounds, I'm all for it, you know.
Are you hip to this young band Polyphia?
No.
Well,
Write
just
it down.
yeah, Poly, Polyphia, Polyphia. They got probably 4 records or more out, but they're kind of like a, my friend calls them, he says, man, that band is Justin Timberlake for guitarists. And I was like, that's kind of a good way to put it. They started out kind of clean cut, like boy bandish, for instrumental guitar. And they've married, you know, a lot of pop elements and hip hop and trap on the last couple records, and they're phenomenal musicians. And but
Wow.
they try to loop it into like a into like a real digestible. Some of it's kind of, you know, they started out as a heavy kind of gent style band, almost like instrumental gent thing. And that was their very first record, and then they really started to craft something unique from there that you kind of almost hadn't heard before. You're like, oh, it's got some elements that I've heard, but they're doing something different with it, and a lot of like interesting kind of almost hip hop style phrasing on the guitar. And it's really, so in some ways and they use some electronic stuff, so that made me think, oh, here might be a way that you'd hear some synthetic sounds along with some really cool guitar lines that might, you know, it could be a thing. I don't know. They've blown up and they're doing a really great job. Now they're back to 8 strings and kind of moving down that road. But I guess the other thing that came to mind too is I was wondering, have you heard, are you familiar with Chronix?
Yes, we played with Chronix a few times.
Oh, yeah, cool.
I love
him.
I love him.
The band, yeah.
Yeah. We played with them like probably like 3 times, maybe even 4. But yeah, they're great.
Just as a modern kind of reggae influence reggae band that's doing kind of roots, but also still remaining modern at the same time.
Yeah, I also do love, as far as modern, the new is it the Free Nationals? Is that Anderson .Paak's band?
Yeah, those are my boys.
Yeah, I love what they do too, as far as modern band is concerned. Yeah,
dude, Anderson .Paak. Yeah, I'm glad you brought them up. That's okay. So let me just go back. I said I was going to wrap it up, but I wanted to say that I love the fact that I've been such a fan of the Roots for so long now, and I feel like, in my mind at least, I know that you guys couldn't have been like the very first hip hop band to like be a full band. There's got to be somebody somewhere along, you know, and along the ways that we're, you know, because it all comes from instruments, but there, you know, there's a big like wide open space for a while where it was just DJs and MCs, you know, like kind of like, it was like, oh, I got my DJ and I'm the, you know, there's the MCs out front, but there was something about the Roots showing up and going, no, we're going full band. Like, yeah, we're hip hop. We're like, you know, authenticating the full band, backing up the hip hop artist. Right. And then you guys went on to like back up everybody, you know, the Erykah Badu's, D'Angelo's, and all these different, you know, John Legend and Betty White and all these different people and great artists. And when I saw Anderson .Paak hit it, I was like, because I actually met him at that Roots picnic that I flew out for Philadelphia that you got me into, which was an incredible experience for me. That was like right when Malibu dropped, and I was like,
Right.
I was there to see you guys, Little Dicky and Anderson .Paak, and like then I found out about Jay Dena and a bunch of other bands that I didn't, artists that I didn't know about, but it was cool to see. I feel like there's more bands in hip hop now, thankfully, and in general. And I think it has to do a lot with you guys. I think you set the gold standard for like how it can be done, and done so incredibly well. So, and Anderson .Paak, like, dude, seeing him slay on the drums and sing and then jump out in the front, like, what?
Yeah.
Who are you,
exactly.
man? Who are you? Nobody. This isn't supposed to be like real or even able to do this.
Yeah.
But
it's a revolution.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. That's a good one. Yeah, I guess that's where we're at. I mean, I could talk to you all day, and just thanks for the inspiration. Thanks for the friendship through the years, man. I really can't say enough about that. Man. It's been great. So hope to continue.
You might have to make this a two-parter.
Yeah.
Do you, are these normally this long?
Yeah, anywhere from a rough. I mean, I have some that are short as 20 minutes, just because I was on a tour bus, and be like, they're right before their show, and like, I got 20 minutes. Ask me some things. I gotta go. Okay. Up to like 2.5.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. I've had some that are between 2 and 3 hours, but
okay.
Joe Rogan goes 5 hours sometimes, right? So yeah, dude, there's like 5-hour pods, 5 hours, and then you're like, yeah. So he kind of it's weird because he broke the seal, and he was like, yo, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. It's my show and it's my account. So he just, if the thing was good, he'd just keep going, keep chatting it out, and it's a different thing for him because he's at a different level. But I really like the fact that he has normalized long form content, in this capacity, because most everybody's tuned in for a soundbite and like, oh, what is it? Get to the point. Whereas this style of podcasting and interview process is less of an interview and more of a, oh, I can't hear you now. Did you?
Hey, my wife is calling me now.
Oh, that's what's up. It's okay. It's perfect timing. You take your phone call with your wife, and we'll connect real soon. Sounds good?
Sounds really good.
All right. Have a great day, Kirk. I'll talk to you soon, brother. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Peace.